Secretary of State Marco Rubio announcing the Trump administration has rescued 5 Venezuelan political figures opposed to President Maduro, saying, quote, all hostages are now safely on U.S. soil. Argentine President Javier Milei allowing all 5 to take refuge in their embassy for more than 400 days after the Venezuelan government issued arrest warrants against them. Juan Pablo Velasmil of the Center for a Secure and Free Society and Dissident Project founder Daniel Di Martino join us now. Both of them are of Venezuelan descent, and I don't know if both of you were born there, but I assume so. This is a really important moment, and we can't underestimate what's just happened here enough. Tell me what this means, Juan Pablo, for the Trump administration, what it means for the fact that he said he wanted to take control in Latin America, and this is one of the results.
Yeah, from all that I can tell, this was an Argo-like operation. I texted my friends in DOD, which of course were not very precise with their language, but they were precise in saying that it was a precise operation and it was an absolute success. Right now we see Diosdado Cabello, who's the #2 in Venezuela, and the Maduro regime writ large in complete denial. And you know what denial means. Denial is a coping mechanism. They lost, and this symbolizes a broader geopolitical strategy of prioritizing Latin America, a foreign policy stoicism of sorts, where Trump is asking himself, what can be done? How can it be done? And it's not just negotiating and offering and extending a hand. Meanwhile, when Biden did that, Maduro did not just spit at that hand, but he stabbed him in the back after Biden acquiesced, and he granted 1 million concessions. Trump is demonstrating that he can push, and he's pushing effectively.
Yeah, Danielle, it sends a message definitely to Maduro, definitely to every single leader in the Western Hemisphere, and also our adversaries who are trying to operate in the hemisphere. But it also, this operation, that it was successful, that these dissidents are now in Florida, says something about Maduro's weakness, doesn't it?
Well, they are so weak, Rachel, that this is why they're scrambling right now, because their only remaining concession that Biden gave them is about to expire in a few days, which is the lifting of the oil sanctions through Chevron, which is a U.S. oil company. And they have been trying to get the Trump administration to backtrack on the sanctions, which would be a total mistake, right? Because this is exactly what Biden did. And I'm very happy that Trump is not doing that, no matter how much Chevron wants to say that it's in the national interest, because it is not. What is in the national interest is to produce oil here and import it from free countries, not from socialist dictatorships who hate us. And so, you know, what the Trump administration has done is historic. They also rescued, we should say, Maria Corina Machado's mother. Also, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and to you, Rachel. But this is very important, because this is going to allow Maria Corina now to have nobody who is tying her hands and be able to do whatever she needs in order to liberate Venezuela.
Yeah, I'll go to you, Juan Pablo, now. I mean, by the way, that embassy, nothing had more security from the Maduro regime surrounding it than maybe his own palace. So the fact that this operation took place, to me, there's some indications that potentially there were people on the inside of the Maduro government that helped this. I don't know how this happened, but it's incredible. Talk to me about what this means for Maria Corina Machado, who is, in all senses, the leader of the opposition movement. What does it mean for freedom in Venezuela? Is this the sign of something very big that we're on the precipice of, potentially the toppling of Maduro?
Yes. I want to join Danielle. Happy Mother's Day, Rachel.
Thank you.
And Mommy, I love you. I want to say that what's happening right now, this precise operation, what it means is that the Trump administration is willing to act. People keep saying that the Trump administration is too willing to talk, but it's the combination of a willingness to talk and to act that makes this approach extremely powerful. The Maduro regime was not gonna let these opposition officials leave the place. Right now, they're saying that they were negotiating, that the people outside, the intelligence officials, were just waiting outside, but they were cutting electricity, cutting water, they were intimidating, and they've arrested many officials from the opposition in Venezuela. So this, again, means that they're coping because they're scared. They're in complete denial of what just happened. And more broadly speaking, what it should mean to the American people is that the the U.S. can enact policy with limited actions that advances their U.S. interests in support of actors in Venezuela that are more in our favor. Because what's happening right now is that for all the people that say that we can just negotiate with Maduro, and I'm not against negotiating per se, but you know where he was last week? He was in China. Right when the U.S. was pressuring, he went to China, and he called Xi Jinping his big brother.
Yeah. Well, it's very clear that it's not in our interest to have a dictator who's funded by China and by Iran and in cahoots with Cuba and their communist government so close to our country and operating in the hemisphere that clearly we should be in control of. So this is an incredible moment. The Chevron license is expiring is going to be a pivotal moment as well. And I thank you, Daniel, for bringing that up as well. We'll see what happens. Yes, we'll see what happens. I think some very interesting developments are on the very near horizon. And we thank you both for helping us understand what's happening in our hemisphere, because when the America is strong, it's only because the Americas are all strong. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right.